Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. It is the end of another month, which means that it is time for another wrap-up. Last month in October, I managed to read all of these books, plus one ebook? Maybe two, now I can't remember. We'll find out, because I have my list of books. But let's dive on in to my ratings and thoughts on each book. So the first book I read was Kingdom of Ash. I had read about half of it in September and just needed to finish it this month. So I did. It was a 4-star read for me. I really enjoyed it, but I also found myself kind of forgetting where each of the characters was. Like, they were all spread out over the continent until they came together towards the end, but I found myself forgetting who is with who is in what location, and so it was a lot, and it was a lot to keep track of, and so that's why I gave it 4 stars, just because I would have to remind myself when we got to a new character, okay, Adian is with Lysandra and they are in this place, or Aelin is currently with Kale and they are here, or whatever. Like, I had to constantly remind myself which characters were where and who else they were with, and so it was a little bit confusing because of that, just because it's a brick and there's a lot of characters and a lot that is happening in this story to wrap it all up. So that was my biggest takeaway, was I didn't remember where anybody was or who they were with most of the time. After I finished Kingdom of Ash, I dove headfirst into as many spooky books as I could, starting with Mexican Gothic, which I was really excited to read. I bought it back when it first came out in June, but just never actually got around to reading it. And then October was the perfect month for it, so I did. It was nice and creepy, just the way I liked. It ended up being 5 stars for me, even though the ending was very odd. It is not what I expected. Slight spoilers, but when I was reading it, I thought that there would be like mold or something in the house that was making everybody kind of go crazy and see things and act differently than the way they normally would. Did not think it was going to be a fungus that somehow allowed people to transport their consciousness into a different body and therefore be immortal. It was a really weird concept, but I also really enjoyed it because it's super original. Like, I've literally never heard of that storyline before. So 5 stars for Mexican Gothic, and it was really good. And you should read it too, even though I just kind of spoiled the ending, sorry. Continuing on the spooky theme, I read Horrid, which was the September Owl Crate pick. I gave this one 3 stars because while I enjoyed the creepiness of it, the ending just really, it didn't feel like an actual ending. Like, nothing really felt like it was completely wrapped up. And I thought it was really odd because the main character, whose name I have forgotten, Jane, I'm the worst. So Jane, at the end, finds out something about all the creepy stuff that's going on, and she chooses not to save somebody who is literally dying, and I just, based on everything that had happened in the book, I feel like Jane would not have done that. I feel like she would have actually tried to help people. So I didn't like that at the very end her character just changed because of the fact that she was like being inhabited by the ghost of her dead sister. It was weird. I liked everything up until like the last 30 pages, but those last 30 pages were enough to bump it down to a 3-star read for me. But gorgeous cover. And because I've been listening to the Murder Squad podcast a lot, and so I've gotten really into true crime again lately, I decided to reread Stalking Jack the Ripper, not Jock, because I love the series, and also Carrie Maniscalco had a new book that came out at the end of October, and I was really excited for that, and just kind of wanted to immerse myself in all things Carrie Maniscalco. But I've always liked Jack the Ripper anyway, just because the idea that somebody could literally murder like 5 or 6 women and get away with it, and we still don't know who he is like 150 years later, is just insane. And so a fictionalized version of who Jack the Ripper is always really fun. And also, I just love the relationship between Audrey Rose and Thomas Cresswell. They're just so cute, and I love them. So 5 5 stars for Stalking Jack the Ripper. And then Hunting Prince Dracula, the second book in the Stalking Jack the Ripper series, was also 5 stars. I've always really liked the Dracula story, read it for the first time in high school and loved it, so I read it every year, well, not every year, but every couple years since then. So Audrey Rose and Thomas getting to go to the actual Vlad the Impaler's castle and study forensics there at a school that is now at the castle is super cool, and just all of the vampiric lore that comes into the case that they're studying there is super cool, and I really like that. So 5 stars for Prince Dracula. And then we had Escaping from Houdini, which was the 3rd book. This one I gave 4 stars because while I enjoy the plot and the setting of it being on the RMS Etruria, and the fact that they meet Harry Houdini, who again was like a historical figure that I've always kind of enjoyed, I don't like the fact that Audrey Rose so often ends up hurting Thomas. And I mean, I understand that she is trying to help solve the mystery, and so she's having to play her part, but I really wish that she could have found a way to tell Thomas the truth instead of constantly literally breaking his heart because he thinks that she's falling for Mephistopheles. And so I didn't enjoy that because they're just like the perfect couple and I love them, and I don't like that she was constantly just kind of going off and doing her own thing and not thinking about the consequences of her actions when it came to Thomas, and the fact that he is so in love with her and she is still kind of unsure of her feelings for him and is therefore hurting him, and I didn't like that, so 4 stars. Then Capturing the Devil, which is the final book in the Stalking the Jack the Ripper series, gave this one 5 stars because I really do like how it wraps everything up really nicely and kind of pulls it back to Stalking Jack the Ripper as well, with the fact that they find out that Jack the Ripper was not actually Audrey Rose's brother and that he had an accomplice, and now they're trying to find him. And also the fact that it kind of brings it into like the first American serial killer, which is kind of cool because, again, I've been listening to a lot of the Murder Squad, and so true crime and serial killers are on my mind a lot lately, which is maybe not great, but I do like the ending of the story. So 5 stars for Capturing the Devil. Then I read Mindhunter, which I borrowed from my library. So this one is also true crime, but this one is actual true crime because it is the kind of a biography, I guess, by John Douglas, who was a FBI agent, and he would actually go into prisons and sit down and talk with serial killers and record their conversations just to kind of try and figure out what they were thinking and feeling before they like decided to murder people, while they were doing it, afterwards, like just trying to kind of get into the mind and psyche of serial killers and try and figure out why do they do what they do, because maybe then they can use that to catch serial killers before they can become serial killers. And so it was really interesting, and they've actually been able to use it to kind of come up with profiles of their suspect when they have multiple violent crimes happen. They're able to look at all of the information in front of them and kind of come up with a profile of the suspect, which helps them to really narrow down who they're actually looking for and tends to lead to more arrests, which is super cool. And also the TV show is really good, so I was really excited for that one. So that one was a 5-star read because it was just really cool to kind of read about somebody who's doing that, because it would terrify me to go into the trenches like that, but reading about somebody else do it is super cool. And then the final book that I read was Bag of Bones by Stephen King. I gave it 4 stars because I felt like the plot kept changing several times. Like, it started out and it seemed like it was going one way, and then halfway through it switched. And then I was like, okay, cool, this is where we're going now. And then like 3/4 of the way, it was like it switched again, and it was just a lot, and I didn't feel like the plot quite made sense. And maybe that's just because it was so big and it he was struggling. I don't know, but then again, I feel like a lot of Stephen King's novels are really big, and he doesn't usually struggle with the plot like I feel like he did with this one. But overall, I enjoyed it, but just the fact that the plot did seem to take so many twists and turns, and they didn't, like, they all seemed way out of place and didn't totally seem to make sense. It's a 4-star read from me. And that is all the books I read in October. I did start reading Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco, which came out on the 27th, I believe. And I'm about 100 pages from the end, so didn't quite get to finish that one last month, but I'm real close and really enjoying that one, so that will be a good one for November. Yeah, comment down below and let me know what one of your favorite books that you read in October was, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!